When I was just a baby, and I know a lot of people don't probably say this, that they can remember back when they were that young, but I could. I can remember when I was in uh, my house growing up, that I remember seeing my mom and dad, and I would see an old person. Never thought nothing of it, but here I am, about three or so, and I would just remember just always being at not having really just any peace, peace or quiet. It would just felt like I was just hearing things and seeing some things that were just around the corner or in another room. And it wasn't like it was just different people or anything. It sounded like voices that I remembered from way back. So, my parents were always very cool about just kind of, I'm going to just say this, spoiling me, giving me things that I want, news, toys, or whatever. But one of the things that I remember my dad getting me was this one tent. And I loved it. So, man, I there's some points where you can kind of explain on how you perceive things, on how you see things, and a lot of times you dismiss it without giving it a second thought, or really just just saying that it was just a figment of your imagination. But I would remember sometimes also seeing just shadows just out of the corner of my eye, and not really able to make sense of it, but just continuing on. But I always remembered that whenever hearing these voices, or when things got a little bit too scary, I would always be able to go into my tent in my bedroom, and I would find peace and quiet. Until one day when I remember my parents ended up, was it taking care of some stuff, was it just outside, and I was alone in the house just playing around and everything. And then I remember hearing the voices starting to get louder, but then they also started to sound meaner, as if there was this one other voice that I never heard before. And I remember I was in, man, I was in the basement at the time, because I was looking for an old slide projector, which I know that's showing my age right there, but my dad used to put on home movies, and I wanted to see if any of the slides would fit into my little mini slide thing that basically when you're a kid you would put the slides in and you would be able to see it through your little viewfinder, and you would be able to click on it and it would turn and you'd see the next picture. And I thought to myself, man, that would be cool if I could do that with the big ones, not realizing that those were two different separate things. But once I started hearing this voice coming from this one side of the basement, I turned and I remember running. And I ran up the cement stairs, ran up the lower carpet stairs, and I could hear the voice grumbling. I couldn't understand what he was saying or what was grumbling, but once I got to the next set of stairs to go up to where my room was, I felt like I could hear it, and it was right almost by my neck. I flew up the last two steps, turned, and dove into my tent. And I just sat there, staring at the opening. And then I could hear the sound, and then it was in the hallway. Started to get closer. None of it making any sense to me, but I could start to see an outline of a shadow. And it's getting even taller. And within an instant, the inside of the tent doors blew open. And there was this ghostly, almost semi-transparent old man staring at me. And I let out this loud scream, and I covered my eyes. It felt like an eternity, but after, I would want to say maybe 2 minutes, I could hear more footsteps, and it was my dad checking in on me. I guess he heard me and asked me what was going on. And after I said it was the old man, it was the old man, he looked and he brought me out of my room downstairs and brought me outside where my mom was talking to the neighbors with a grim look, and he whispered into her ear. And she looked and just kind of looked back at me, looked back at him, and just kind of gave a nod. I wouldn't understand what that nod meant until I was about 16, 17 years old later. And my dad rehashed the story to me, and he told me that when they originally got that house, they were able to get it cheaper. And the reason why was because an old man had passed away. And that bathroom that I used a long time ago He had a heart attack. And that bathroom was always right across the hallway from my room. Since then, that ended up changing and also making me more, I would have to say, sensible, as well as also more curious to what is really out there.